is pleading, blind and unheeding, dying for.
Lord. Let's open our Bibles tonight to the book of Zechariah. The book of Zechariah, we're in chapter number 9. Number 9 this evening. Zechariah chapter number 9, and I will just read the remaining 7 verses in Zechariah chapter 9. We're going to look at it in chapter 10 tonight, and but we'll look at the verses as we go through as I normally do. But let's look at Zechariah chapter 9 and start verse number 11. We finished at verse 10, and verse number 11. Out of the pit wherein is no water. Turn you to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. When I have bent Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, and made thee as a sword of a mighty man. And the Lord shall be seen over them, and his arrows shall go forth as the lightning, and the Lord God shall blow the trumpet, and shall go with whirlwinds of the south. The Lord of hosts shall defend them, and they shall devour and subdue with sling stones, and they shall drink and make a noise as through wine, and they shall be filled like bowls and as the corners of the altar. And the Lord their God shall save them in that day as the flock of his people, for they shall be as the stones of a crown lifted up as an ensign upon his land. For how great is his goodness and how great is his beauty. Corn shall make the young men cheerful, and new wine the maids. I heard about a dog years ago that had been rescued after years and years of neglect. The shelter workers cleaned the dog up, fed him, treated his wounds, and eventually they found him a good home. But when the new owner of the dog opened the gate and tried to lead him into the yard, the dog froze. The dog had food, he had safety, he had kindness, he had space, but the dog was still fearful and still acted like he was in danger. That new owner told me later, verse 10, it took me a while to realize he wasn't refusing love. He just didn't know what freedom felt like yet. And that stuck with me because sometimes God's people can be delivered. And we can still think like even today do I declare that I will. We can still know we're loved even today, and still live afraid. When I have bent Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim. We can be called home and still hesitate at the gate. Our chains are off, but our minds are still in captivity. The Lord shall be seen over. And that's where these verses meet us here in Zechariah. He has just announced your king is coming, and we looked at that last message. And he's just having salvation. He's just and lowly and riding upon an ass. But now God shows what king does for wounded, scattered, and disappointed sheep. A king doesn't just arrive in humility. He rescues prisoners. He strengthens the weak. He exposes false voices, confronts bad shepherds, and regathers his flock. And this is not just a message about a king on a donkey. It's a sermon about the Lord of the flock who knew how to bring sheep home. And this message tonight flows directly out of the last one. In verses 1 through 10 of Zechariah chapter 9, we saw the coming king. God judged proud nations. He protected his house. And then he turned to Zion and said, "Rejoice greatly, behold, thy king cometh unto thee." He does not come like the kings of this world. He wasn't riding with force, but with humility. He wasn't coming to be served, but he was coming to save. But now when you come to verse 11 of Zechariah chapter 9 through the end of chapter 10, God shows us what that reign of a king means for His people. And the picture, the typology shifts from king to shepherd. And that matters because you and I, as God's people, do not only need authority over us, we need care around us. We don't only need a throne, we need a shepherd. We need someone who knows how to handle our wounds, our fears, our scattered condition, our false sources, and our weaknesses. And Zechariah is preaching and speaking to people that knows what it means to be scattered. They know exile. They know disappointment. They know what it feels like when leaders fail. They know what it feels like when spiritual voices in their life lie to them. They know what it feels like to be part of the people of God and still feel like sheep without a shepherd. And God says, I know my flock. That's the heart of this text. And this passage is filled with movement as we read through the end of chapter 9 and 10. Prisoners are summoned and warriors are strengthened and rain is requested and idols are exposed and shepherds are going to be rebuked and scattered people are going to be gathered and the flock is going to walk in the name of the Lord. So let's walk through this evening and I want you to notice first of all tonight, notice the rescue that I find in verses 11 and 12. The Lord remembers His covenant and He releases these prisoners. Look at verse 11. As for thee also, by the blood of thy covenant, I have sent forth thy prisoners. A message about a king on a donkey. It's a sermon about the Lord gathers His flock. And this flock who knew how to bring a king on a donkey. It's a sermon about this message tonight flows directly out of the last knew how to bring verses 1 through 10. And in Zechariah chapter 9, we saw the coming king. God judged proud nations. He protected His house. And then He turned to Zion and said, rejoice. God judged proud nations. Behold, thy king cometh unto thee. And then He turned to Zion and said, He does not come like the kings of this world. He wasn't riding with force, but with humility. He wasn't coming to be served, but He was coming to save. He wasn't riding now when you come to verse 11 of Zechariah chapter 9, but He was coming to save. End of chapter. But now when you come to verse 11, God shows us what that reign of a king means for His people. And the picture, the typology shifts from king, reign of a king to shepherd. And that matters because you and I as God's people do not only need authority over us, and that matters because around us. You and I, we don't only need a throne, we need authority over us, we need care around us. We need someone who knows how to handle our wounds, our fears, our scattered condition. We need a condition, our false sources, and we need someone who knows how to handle our wounds, is preaching and our scattered people that knows what it means to be scattered. And our and exile, they know disappointment. They know what it feels like when leaders fail. They know what it feels like when spiritual voices in their life lie to them. They know what it feels like to be part of the people of God and still feel like sheep without a shepherd. And God says, I know my